Hey, good morning. Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. Uh,
Hi Bharat, good
hey,
morning.
Pankaj.
This is Pankaj.
Good morning. All right. So yes, let's start today's class. And as we discussed yesterday, we look into classes and objects. So did you get a chance to look into my PDF file, which I shared yesterday?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any question on that?
No, I haven't got any questions.
You are good with that? Okay.
Yes.
What about Pankaj? Did you get a chance to look into that PDF? Pankaj, are you there? I think you're talking on mute. Can you unmute it? Okay. So,
Sorry Bharat, actually
yeah,
I was talking on mute.
okay.
So actually I didn't get time to go through those documents.
Okay.
So
All right.
on
So,
weekend yeah, I'll go through those.
okay, no problem. So let me share my screen and we'll see all that again. And we'll see
Okay.
how they are working. Okay. So let me share my screen and we'll look into that. Yes. All right. So are you able to see my screen now, Pankaj? And
Yes, yes.
okay. All right. So yesterday we just created one class and we were looking into how the things are there. So yesterday we saw there are different things here that the Java language is a high level language. It's a platform independent language and object oriented language. Okay, when I say high level language, it's like easy to understand, because see, before high level language there was a assembly language. So assembly language and machine language was like 0 and 1 format, and that was very difficult to understand. So when we say Selenium is high level language, so that we can understand the syntax, if we give if we want to print something on console, if you want to print something on the console, we directly write system.out.println, not in 0101 format. So that's the there. Another thing we saw yesterday, we saw it's a platform independent. So it's like Java is not rely on only one operating system. It's like you can install at one system, you can do your programming on one system, and you can run same script on different operating system. So that's a platform independent. It's not like if you are writing your code on Windows machine, it will not work on Mac machine. It will work there. Okay. Another thing was a object oriented programming language. What it is? So object oriented programming language is just like when we deal, I mean, see, in object oriented programming language, I would say we mostly deal with classes and objects. There are some more features which we have in object oriented programming language, which we will look into that. So these are the things. There are so many tools are available which we saw yesterday. So there are UFT, there are Selenium, SOAP-UI, JMeter, ETL for ETL, Informatica. There are so many tools available for different purpose. So if you talk about UFT, it's like for web browser testing and desktop testing, we use UFT. Selenium, again, it's a free of cost, open source, which is UFT is not an open source. You have to pay, you have to get the license, and you have to work on UFT, and then you can automate this web browser and desktop application. But in Selenium, it's like it's open source. You can it's like it's not software. Actually, Selenium is just a API. So we use the API. We use API to interact with a different browser. It could be Firefox, it could be IE, it could be Chrome, and we automate our all the elements using that Selenium. And there is one more APM. So through APM we can automate our mobile application as well. So all this is a Java based application and open source application. So we use Selenium, but the drawback with Selenium is like you cannot automate your desktop application. But again, there's a good thing here. If suppose I'm an organization where I really don't want to automate my desktop application, then why should I go with UFT? I can go with the Selenium. Okay. Another thing, then we have a SOAP-UI. It has their own purpose. For web service testing, we use a SOAP-UI tool. There are some more tools we have available, like Postman, REST API. These are the tools available for web service testing. And then for JMeter and load runner, we use for load testing. Now again, there will be one question here. What is the difference between web service and API testing? When I say Selenium is not a software, it's an API. So we are testing APIs using a Selenium, or it's an API kind of tool. So API is just like when the purpose for web service and API testing is same. We use this web service and API for communication purpose, so that they can interact with one application. So let's say there's one application. I would say I have one application which is a browser. Any browser it could be, right? So this is browser, and another application which I'm having my Selenium. So what basically I'm doing here is I'm just interacting. Okay, so using a Selenium, I'm interacting with a browser. So this is kind of API. So I'm communicating with the browser using a Selenium. So that's why Selenium, I would not say Selenium is a software. Selenium is a API for me. I never install Selenium. I mean, see, we use different jar file and we interact with a browser. So this is a API testing. So we are doing here API testing. Now, if you talk about the web service testing is also serve the same purpose. We also do for communication purpose. Okay, but it will be over a HTTP, over HTTP. So when you talk about the internet, when let's say there's a two application, one application is Make My Trip, another application is, this is the browser web application. So one application is a Make My Trip, another application is a Google Flight. So this is a two application. Okay, and suppose they are on different system. It's not on same system. Here we are talking about same system. Selenium, what we are doing here, Selenium. So in Selenium, we are interacting with a browser on same machine. This is my machine. I will invoke my browser. I will automate my browser elements on same machine. But when we talk about web service testing, it's like, you have this application on different, we have hosted this application on different machine and we are accessing on different machine. So here machine will be different. Here application will be different. You got my point? System machine will be same and application will be different on API testing. Here on web service testing, it will be accessed via a HTTP. So here machine could be different because we are not dependent on machine here. We are dependent on a HTTP. So whatever I can access through internet, that will be, I can say that will come under a web service. So I'll take the API from Make My Trip and I will not have any feature here in Google Flight. I will access all the feature, all the things which are here on Make My Trip using an API, using a web service. So I will take VSDL, I will take some other stuffs and I will access those things here. Okay. And then when we talk about web automation testing, when I say in Selenium, what we do, we use a web driver. Web driver is like, any browser it could be. So if I talk about a web driver, it could be any browser, like what I'm doing here, I'm driving a web. So that means a web browser. So it could be Chrome, it could be IE, it could be Firefox. And then under every browser will be having different elements. It could be checkbox, it could be text. And another thing in JDK. So did you get a chance to install this JDK on your machine? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, and now it's working, right?
Correct.
Okay, great. Okay, so in JDK, it will be a combination of Java compiler and it will be a Java runtime environment. So this will be there. And so these are the things here. So now let's discuss about object and classes. So whatever we see, I'll tell you, I'll give you some more example today to understand this object and classes in better way. So let's say whatever you see, that is objects. So let's say if I see a tree, so tree is object, tree is a class for me. Why? Because tree could be any kind of tree, right? But let's say if I see any tree, so tree is a class for me. Okay, but what about the tree? So we can have many kind of trees, right? Different kind of trees. So we could have a different kind of trees. Now, how do you identify the trees? There will be a size, there will be different color. Okay, so all things will be different. So through which we identify tree or we differentiate the things we call as a attributes. So let's say yesterday we talked about a class. Yesterday we talked about the car. So car is a class for me. But car could be Toyota, car could be Ford, car could be BMW. And how do I know that this is BMW and this is Ford and this is Toyota? There will be different properties they will be having, right? So they will be having 4 gears, it will be gearless or 5-seater, color and all that. So through which we can identify the object we call as a data member or data type, I would say. So let's say these are the things through which we can identify. This is the talk we discuss about, the dog class, but these are the things through which we can identify the objects. We can identify the objects, yes. So when we just go to our program, so we created one class here. Okay, we created one class here. And to identify dog, different kind of dog, we created data member here. So for dog, there will be different kind of dog. It will be Maltese, it will be Chow, it will be Mastiff. So for this kind of breed, to identify this kind of breed, what we will do, we will be having a different properties in each kind of dog. Okay, so we'll be having different color, age, size, breed. This example is for everywhere actually, for any object, there will be different properties to identify those objects. Okay, so this is I would say template or blueprint. So dog is a one thing through which I can have a different kind of, I can create different kind of dogs. I can create different properties. I can create different objects, and that's why I'm saying this dog is a blueprint for me. Okay, another, so whatever you will write under this will be run for us. So this is my class. Under this class, I'm having my data members. You can say data members, you can say attributes. There are different things which you can tell them. So these are the things here. Okay, so all the code will come under a class. Okay, and then object is just nothing like, we can create an instance of classes. So what we did here, we created instance. So for dog and for this kind of breed, Maltese, we created one instance. For Chow, we created one instance. What we did, we created object of dog. So dog is my class, and for dog, I created object Chow. For dog, I created, because see, all these breeds belong to dog. All these things are belong to dog. Pankaj, you might face some issue, but yeah, definitely I'll explain you all that. Okay. So dog.
Yeah. Sure.
So be with us. You will get all the details. Yes.
Yeah.
Same as if you talk about students. Yesterday I share one PDF. There was one example. So if you talk about the students, student could be anyone, right? It could be, let's say, Jane, it could be Rahul, or it could be any person, right? And every person will have their own things, like, you know, to identify, like, okay, Jane has different name, last name, okay, and we'll be having a roll number. Roll number will be different to identify, and so age. All this will be considered as a data member. Okay, so a student is a class, and these are the objects, and these are the attributes. Okay, so these are the things, like, you know, so okay, and now whenever you create any object, you always, while creating object, what you do, you use a new keywords. Okay, so we use the same thing here. So whenever you create any objects, you create a new keyword. So I'm creating object for dog class, and this is the reference variable for me. So all this is a reference variable for me. This one, this one, this one, because see, I created 3 objects, 1, 2, 3, for different 3 bits. Okay, and so now another thing here is, like, you know, when you create any object. Okay, so I created one object here. So Java has one concept, which is a Java heap. So Java heap is nothing. It's just a memory space, which is taken by a JVM, Java Virtual Machine. Okay, even let's take one example here. If you have someone, new member in your family, there will be some space for that person, right, in your house. So same thing, when you create any object, there will be space. That person will take a space in that, you know, memory, or I would say, an example, a real example, in house. Okay, so we will be having a, so let's say this is the, okay, so this is a house, a new baby born here, and that person will take a, that baby will take a space. So that space, in real word, I can say, in Java, it's like heap, and heap is a memory. Okay, so all right, so heap is a memory. So whenever you will create any object, it will take a memory in I mean, it will take a memory taken by them. I would say, like, it will be taken by a Java virtual machine. Okay, so, and sometime you will face issue when you will have lots of objects. If I created only just 3 objects, sometime you'll get some error here, that out of memory. So the thing is that you have created so many things, so many objects here, and my memory, whatever the memory was allocated for me, just say I have max 10, I can create max 10 objects. Now I'm creating 11 objects. I mean, like, I have created my number of objects is now 11th. So now in this case, what will happen? I will be getting an error out of memory. All right, because see, my memory is full. I cannot create more than 10, and I'm trying to create like more than 10 objects, which is not which I cannot do actually. So that's heap. No one will ask you this question, but yeah, it's for you to understand, like, you know, what is heap actually. So whenever you will create object, it will be memory will be taken by a JVM. Okay, and yesterday we saw that all the things will start running, your code will start running after main method. So what we did here, this is the class, and under that we are having data members or attributes, and then we are having methods, and after that we are having main method. So main method is a static method actually, and after whatever things I will run in this class, it will start running from main method. Whatever I will write here, it will not run if I will not call that method in a main method. So to perform the operation for get info, I called that method here under a main method. So always you should know, like, whatever things you want to run, you have to have that things under a main method. Okay. All right, let me see. All right. And now let's talk about a garbage collection. There's one more concept we have here. It's a garbage collection. So in real time, if I say garbage collection is just like, you have one garbage bag. Until it's not full, you will not throw that bag outside or, outside in a garbage area, right? So garbage is like, if you have create one object for invoking your Chrome browser. Okay, now what you are doing here. So you are creating one object for your Chrome browser, and you did your all the things with that. I did automation and everything is done for me. Now, after all my purpose is complete, what I'll do actually, after your garbage is full, you will throw that, right? So you will, you will mark as a null actually. You will remove that garbage. You will, I would say deinitialize that object because there's no use of that now. I'm done with my testing. So in definition, if I say garbage collection is a mechanism provided by JVM, see again, heap memory was again provided by JVM, and garbage collection is again provided by a JVM, Java Virtual Machine. So that what you can do, once you are done with your all things, you can destroy your object. So I would say in simple words, it destroys the objects which is not in use. So now I'm done with my testing. I don't need my Chrome browser objects, right? I can destroy it actually. Okay. So now, so these are the one things which we talk actually. So garbage collection and heap memory. Now, if you talk about the reference, so two things will ask you in interview. One thing, what is the primitive data type, or what is a reference data or reference data type or reference variable? So whatever you will create here, which is by default given by a Java. So string is given by the Java, integer is given by the Java. If I say some more here, vector is given by the Java. If I say float is given by the Java. So these are the data members or attributes which is given by Java is a primitive variables. Okay, and whatever object, whatever reference variable whatever the variable I'll be creating using any class, that will be a reference variable. So understand the difference actually, that by default getting a variables will be a primitive variables or data type or attributes. It's up to you, whatever you call it. And whatever you will create, I can give any name here, but here I cannot do anything. If it is float, it will be FLOAT. I cannot have another T here. But if I have one thing here, I can add so many things, because this is a user defined variable. I can do it anything here. So whatever I will be creating using a class, that will be a reference variable. Okay. So if I say by definition, it's like reference variable are those variables which store the address of objects. So what we are doing here, so we are having an address actually, object address. We can access the object address using this reference variable. Okay, so this is the one thing here. So now you should know, when I say reference variable, so this is the reference variable for me. When I say I want a primitive variables, so this is the primitive variables for me. When most of the time we will call this as a data members. Okay, and what I did here, this is a global variable for me. Why? Because I initialize this, all the data members before this main method or after my class in the body. Okay. Now, if I want to access this data member in my class, I can access this data member anywhere in my class. But if I have this data member under this method, then I will be able to access under this method only. You got me? So whenever, if I have this data member under this method, it will be accessed only under this. But if I'm having my data member globally, I can access anywhere. Okay. So these are the things. So here, float, integer, strings, character, boolean, all this will be a primitive data types. And primitive data types is a by default data types, which is defined by the programming language. I would say Java here. And then non-primitive, which is a reference data type. You can say non-primitive or reference data type or reference variable. So that will be a defined by the programmer. Because I'm the programmer, I'm defining, I can give any name. So that will be a non-primitive data type. Okay, and I can give any name here. All right, so I hope this is clear. And for every primitive data type, there is a limit. So let's say if I write integer, if I give one variable, initialize one variable here, I can give any name. It's up to you. You can give age, let's say age. This is already given there, so that's why it's throwing me error. I cannot have 2 age. So if I say year, okay, and if I give something like, now I'm getting error. I cannot have that long number for integer. So that's your assignment. Just go and check for all the primitive data types that what is the length of that. So every primitive data type will have their own limit. You cannot have in a long number actually. For long number, if suppose you really want a long number, you can go for long. There's one more data type here that can have long number. If you want to store something, okay, so you want to store age will be definitely integer, 1 2 3 4 5 6 like that. You can have a in integer. If suppose you want to have some, amount will be a bigger, could be bigger, right? So how do you store it? You cannot store, if it is small, you can store in integer. But if you have a lot, many amount, right? So you cannot store under a integer. You have to store in a long. So every primitive data type have their own purpose. Okay. So now let's say now you are talking about name. You cannot have name in long and integer. You have to create a string for that. So in a string, you can have any name. String is only for, it's for numeric and plus alphabetic. Okay. So in a string, you can have both. Okay. Another thing, let's say if you are talking about a number which has a point, let's say you are talking about a weight. So weight could be having like 2.5 kg or kg or lb or right. So how do you handle that? So for that, there's another primitive data type or primitive variables, which is a float. Okay, so you can have a like that. You can store decimal things there. Okay, so you got my point so far? Any issue? Should we proceed to another stuff?
No issue.
No issue, right? All right. Now, another thing here, let's say I just want to concatenate. Concatenate is like, when we are adding 2 to 3 strings together. So how would I do that? Let's say if I have, and there's one more beauty I told you yesterday. So if you say SYSO, and you don't know what is the complete syntax, right? So you have to press Control and space bar, and it will give you suggestion. And now you got the suggestion here. You just hit enter, and you will get the complete syntax there. Now, so if I just want to add, we have different things here. So let's say, let me give you an example here. So you have a string one, I would say is, I would say here is, I'm just creating normal. So I have y. So what I'm doing here, I'm creating a primitive variables here. This is the s, this is y. In s, what I'm storing v. And whenever you will use string, you have to have in double quotes. Okay, you cannot have like that. So I'm just v r and then shade. I'm just saying dr. So I'm having these three variables, okay, which is a primitive variable. Okay, it will give you error because see, I use small here. It will not be small. It's a system defined variables. If they have given in capital, you have to use in capital. So you cannot change the data types. All right. So these are the three variable I created here. Okay, I have three variable here, s, y, z. I want to add all together. We are learning Selenium. If I say is, and then if I say, it's very basic, it's very easy to understand as well. So that your base will be ready for other stuff. So if I say, all right, so it will be shaded. Right now, let's run this. If I run this, okay, so what I'm getting here, I'm getting we are learning in different line. It's not, I didn't concatenate actually. So to concatenate this, what I have to do here is, let me just 1 minute. All right. So what I can do here is, instead of having different syntax, I can say is, I can give I can say plus. I said plus, and then I need to give a space. I can say space. I give the space. Another is, I can say y. I can say another plus, because I am not ending my variable here. So again, I will say space, because I need a space, right? I want to print v space r space learning Selenium. So again, it will be and head. Okay, I will remove this because see, already I did everything in one syntax in right. So if I run now, let's run now. So we are getting one line. Okay, so this is the concatenating action. We are adding all these three variables in a one. Okay, and there are a few more things here. It's like public, package, integer and all that we have already saw. Okay, so we don't need to see all this. Okay, and we saw like reference variable. Void, definitely will look into that. Okay, okay, so now let's talk about a few more things. And let's say now we will try to create, here we created three objects, 1, 2 and 3. Now let's try to create more objects. What I'll do, I will be having a class here, one more class. Okay, so I would say objects. All right, simply I'm just having this name, so don't worry about the name actually. All right, So if I come here, again, write a main method, because I didn't select main method from there actually. So what I can do, I just created one class here. I say main, I will say control and space bar, and main method option is suggestion is there. I just hit enter. Main method is there. If you forget to click on that checkbox, where? Here, when you create your class. So class is just like, if you forget to click on this and you simply just say finish, your main method will not come there. So what you can do, you can say main space, control and space, and your main method will be there. Now let's talk about let's create the object. So if I say for, I'm using a for loop. I will explain you, don't worry about it. For loop is just like, here what I'm doing here is every time creating a objects. So it's not like this is object, this is a reference variable. This line is the creating object for me. This is the objects for me. Whenever I'll use new, this is objects, don't confuse. So whenever I will write new dog for dog class, it will create object. So now if I come here, if I say for loop, why for loop? Because see, I don't want to create object every time, using writing the same code again and again. So what I'll do, I will use for loop. I'll say integer. Integer will have a integer value. It will not have a decimal value. It will not have alphanumeric value. Okay. So integer, I can say I. I is a object. You can say any name. So I'm just J. You can give K. Any name. Any letter you can use here. So if I say A, I want to start my A from 0. And I just want to use, don't worry about for loop, forget about for loop. I'm just telling you about, how you can create the objects and how many objects you can create. So there's no limit actually. So let me see. So if I say K plus plus, if there's no space allow, then you will get the out of memory error. As we already discussed in Heap, if memory is not available, while creating object, you will get the error. Okay. So here, if I say, we give here different conditions. So I give here, it will start from K. So let me explain you here. So if I say K equal to 0, okay, and it will be plus plus. So every time it will be plus plus. All right. So let me, all right. So here, if I, in this block, in for loop block, what I'm doing here is I'm just creating one object. Okay, so object would be start from new, and I would say, what is the class name? Class name is this one. I can copy because see, I'm creating an object of this class. So I will copy this. And same thing I did here, which I did here as well. I just copy this dog. Dog is my class name here. I did the same. This is my class name. I'm creating object for class. So I will give the name of class. Okay. So this is here. Now I want to see how many times it's creating my objects, right? So I will say syso system.out.println. I'll say hit enter. And now I will give a key. I want to see how many times it will create. Okay. So now let's run this actually. So it's creating. See, objects are creating for me. These are the numbers actually. There's no end. So I can create many objects. So until I will not, my memory is not until full, it will keep creating objects. Okay. So you have to wait for a long actually. So I will terminate this because I will close by forcefully because it's keep creating an object for us. So I will say stop, chill down. All right. Now, if I say there's one more here, I just gave this condition and this condition, but in here I didn't give any condition. So that's why it's keep creating objects for me. Let's say I just want to create my objects for 10 times. Okay, so if I say a equal to, and I can give the condition here. So a less than equal to 10. So I want to create. Previously I didn't give any condition there that how many times I want to create. But here I have given the condition now. I only want to create objects 10 times for this class. Okay, let's run this now. And this is the beauty of this for loop. So we'll look into all this. Don't worry about it. See, it will run only for 10 times. Okay, so I can give for 20. See, I'm not writing for 20 times. Otherwise, what will happen? I have to write everything for 20 times. If I want to run it for 20 times, I can run it for 20 times.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, Pankaj.
This is 20 times. It will run for 21 times, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, because see, the thing is that here, let's say I want to print for 20 times. What you will do if you don't have this for loop? You will have to simply write these things for 20 times. You will write system.out.println, and let's say I want to print for hello for 20 times. Okay, what you will do? You will write for 20 times, and then it will run one time, and 20 times you will hello will be written here. But I don't want that actually. I will simply use for loop, and it will solve my purpose, right? I don't want lengthy code actually. I want a smart work, right? So what I will do here, I will just have a for loop, and I will give the condition that you have to start from 0. It should be less than equal to 20, and you have to increase k plus plus is it's increasing 1 by 1. Remember it. The meaning of k plus plus is like k plus 1. You got me? If I write k plus plus or k plus 1, it's same thing. Okay, why? Because let's say you are here. Okay, first time your value k value is 0. We have given j k, I mean 0, right? Next time what it will be? Okay, so your for loop will come here. It will print 0. So first time we will get the value for k is 0 because we started from 0. Now, so now we have a value of k is 0. It will go again because see, we didn't complete here. It will go for 20 times. So your focus will again go here. Now you have k0. It will check, okay, it's less than 20. It's not greater than 20. It will come here. Your k0 will come here. So 0 plus 1. Now your k is 1. Remember, now your k value is 1, not 0. 0 plus 1, it will be a 1. So now it will come here. It will see, okay, it created for now one more time, and now your k value is 1. It will again check here. Okay, k is 1. It is more than 20? No. It will again come here. Now your k is 1. k1 plus 1. It will be 2. You got me? You are with me? Let me know if you have an issue. Now you have a 2. It will again come here. It will say here. It will come here. It will say, okay, k equal to 2 here. Now again, it's less than 20, right? It's less than 20. It will come here. So now your value is 2. So 2 and plus 1. Now your k value become a 3, and it will be so on. It will be so on, and it will run like that for 20 times. Anything, any issue so far on this? Now, see, you have to understand that actually it will not come automatically. You have to practice it. You have to create these things at your own. You have to write this for loop, and you have to try with different. You can give 5, you can give 10, and you have to understand, like, how it's working. So every time when your things run, it will just go here, then here, line by line, and then here. It will say we are having this code under this curly braces. So it will not come here. It will be again here. It will say, okay, K, then again we have to go up here. Then it will say this condition not satisfying. Again, it will come here. Again, it will go up until we will not be having a 20. K value is 20. Then it's 20 equal to 20. Now it will not run after that because see, we already got 20 equal to 20 and it's done. And we will be come out of this loop. Okay, so these are the things. All right, and all right, and here when we say all the Java runtime environment variable or library lib file will be here. So these are the supporting library files, okay, which help us to compile our code. And that's why we are saying this Selenium is all about API. So we are, we are running all this using this library file. If we'll not be having this, it will not run. The concept behind last time we saw, let me explain you again. So whenever you write anything, let's say what you did here, you created one class and the class name is .java or any name, any class name with .java. But if you just go on this location, let me go to that location. If you just go to that location, you will be having this one. Let me come here. So when you run your program, your compiler, let me show you, your compiler will convert that .java file. This is the Java compiler. So your Java compiler will convert that file .java file, name could be anything, into a .class. See, we are writing this Java file, right? But when Java runtime environment or that will be run, so that Java format will convert into .class format, and this will be in a 0101 format, which we don't care actually. So machine understand this language. We are writing Java and it will convert into .class, and that will be run by our system. Okay, but we don't care about it because see, we are writing everything in .java format. Okay, so in user friendly format we are writing everything, but it will internally convert into a .class. Okay, all right, so this is the thing here. And all right, what else? All right, this one. Okay, and now let's talk about access modifier. But before that, let me look into a few more things here. So let me think, what should I cover before that? Because see, I just want to go step by step so that you can understand everything properly. Okay. All right. So one more thing here we saw last time. So if I come here, okay, and I'm just removing all this. Okay, for now. You will be having this recording, so don't worry about it. Okay, so I'm just creating all this. Okay, let's say I created one. Why we are creating method actually? So this is my method. It's giving me error because I removed that data types. So I don't need actually. I will remove this as well. Okay, and I will remove this as well. I will just simply write a hello. Okay, I'm not writing anything else now. So it's like hello. I'm just having that we are just printing hello on the console. And now if I, and this is my method, and this method data type is I'm not having return type actually. So it's a void. Void will not return any value. I'll tell you why, what is written value or what is not written value. So let's say I'm having this method here. All right. So this is my method. This is my class. This is my package. Okay. I want to there's nothing here on main. Okay, main method. So if I run this, let's try to run this. Nothing is printing here. Okay. So until and unless I will not have anything under this main method, it will not gonna print anything. It will not work. So to get it work, what I have to do? I have to create the objects. I will just say dog. I will create the reference variable. So dog, the name I can give any. I said reference variable name I can give my own. I will say I will create new object using a new keyword and say dog, and this is my object created. Okay, now I want to access this method, and let's understand the beauty of this actually. So if I say, let me just give one more thing here. All right, I don't want to write this line again and again, right? Already written this line. There are, or you can understand, like, I have given so many condition here, which is which will be performed. Like, let's say first line is for opening browser, second line is for validating something, the third line is validating for something. So these are the things actually. Validating means if you are suppose here, and what is the manual testing? Manual testing, like just like you have to enter this name, then you have to click on all, then you have to click on news, and you have to make sure you are getting these things there or not. So these are the functional, this is the functional testing, right? Which we do actually using our Selenium or any functional tool. So let's say you have already written all this here, okay, and I just want to use this method. This is a method. Remember, this is a method for me. So if I just want to use this method somewhere again in the class, or in this class, or in some other class, I can access it because I have given the public. Public is just like, the person who's access to everywhere. I can access this method anywhere. Okay. So if I just say here, d dot, am I getting this name, get info? I just want to access this get info. So let's try to run it. Now, can I see my get info? Yes, I can see get info. This is the method which I created. Okay, so I will just simply select this. Okay, now let's run this now. Now I'm having this under a main method. So something should print ideally, right? So let's try to run now. See, hello is printing for 5 times. I don't need to write this code again and again. Why? So using a method, I can reuse the same thing wherever I want to use. Okay, let's say I want to print one more time. I can say d dot info. Now it will be printing for 5 times. If I'm calling 2 times, it will be 10 times. Let's try to run this 10 times. So it's reducing. This is the one-time effort for me. I have written all this code at some one place, right? And I want to call that things. So I can call it. Simply just give a method name with my reference variable. If I want to multiple times, I can call it multiple times. There is no restriction. So this is the thing, that's why we use method actually. Okay, so this is the thing here. Let's see a few more things. So we'll go one by one. All right, and what else? So far there's no issue, right? You can stop me anywhere, wherever you feel. Yeah, so last time we saw all the, let's say, all the primitive variables. So one more primitive variable is there, which is a Boolean. The Boolean could be, there is a two things will come under Boolean. One will be true and one will be false. So let's say if I talk about, if I want to give the condition of this one actually. So either it will be visible, I mean, it will be display here, or either it will not be display here, right? If it is not displaying this string or this text there, it means false. If it is displaying here, which is a true, right? So using a true and false, using a Boolean value, I can validate this as well. You need something, right? You have to give some condition there, right? To validate something that things are presenting on that page or not. So if it is presenting, you can say true. If it is not presenting, you can say false. Okay. So these are the things which we can use, and we will be using all this when we will be writing our code. Okay. So these are the things here. And all right. So these are the things. Now you have to just look into your PDF, or I will share one more PDF with you, or you can also Google that, what is the length of each primitive variables and how it will work. So these are the things here. Now there will be few more things here, so which is some standard actually. So when you say let me come here. So these are the basic things here. When you are creating any package is just, if you want to click here, you can click, you can select package. So whenever you select any package, or whenever you are creating any package, if you start writing with capital, it will say discourage package name by convention. It's not like if you give capital, it will not work. It will work, but as per the programming standard, ideally we should start our package name with a small letter. Okay, so this is the thing here. So if I say it's called a camel casing. So in camel casing is like, if I say, so it's like camel casing. So if I say class, I cannot have a class name because class is the by default they use here, but I can have something else here. So I would say 2, and then I can give the class. I can give some other name actually. Okay. So likewise, you can have your package name. You have to start with 2, C small letter, and then you can have a big letter. It's easy to understand. If you have all this as a small, it's very tough to understand, right? So you can have another letter, you can have with a capital letter. It's easy to understand. I can read it properly. So it will increase your readability actually, if you have like this. So if you talk about camel casing, so let's talk about here. Let's see. All right. So it's let me open this. All right. So it's like there's one concept, a camel casing. It's not like hard and fast rule that you need to follow this, but as per the company standard, as per the programming standard, we should follow this actually. So if you say you have to create one object, and you say if the dark night, it's like it's not readable for me actually. I'm having all in a small letter. But if I say the dark and night, it will be more readable for me actually. So you have to just write like this actually. And so whenever you will create any primitive data type or primitive variables, it will be int, or you can say any name. You can don't write like this. Always try to write age. Okay, when you are having any primitive data type. Okay, and then if you are having a class, it will be camel casing. Again, if you are saying again, it will next letter will be you can have as a capital. That's not a problem. If you are talking about here, when you are creating package, start with small. If you are creating your classes, then again, if I say if you create any class here, then class, if you start with small, it will not, it's not good idea actually. Not good thing to start with small. Always have your class name with any capital. Okay, I'm just giving a name here. Okay, so it's like that. So yeah, this is the things which you have to follow. Yeah, any question on that, Pankaj? You know, you're good with this. So you're good with camel casing things. You're good with method. You're good with for loop. You're good with creating objects. Okay, what is the primitive data type? What is the non-primitive data types? Right. So just practice on that. Okay. There are few more things actually which I wanted to discuss, but due to time constraint, we'll discuss this in next week. But yeah, we'll look into this access modifier, declaration, initialization. So we'll look into all that. Yeah, local variable we saw, right? Whatever variable I will creating under a method, that will be local. And this is the whatever I'll be creating after class, which will be a global variable for me. Okay, so keep that in my mind. So whatever you will be having under any method, that will be a local. And if you're having here after class, it will be global. I can access anywhere in any class or yeah, in any method actually, yeah, under that class, if it is not a private. Okay, so yeah, just practice on that and let me know if you face any issue. Okay, I'll share this video with you in some time today, and yeah, you can practice on that. I'll share some more PDF in meantime, and yeah, you can practice on that. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah? All right, no problem. Yeah, so everything's clear, right? There's no issue, right, so far?
No, that's fine.
Oh, all right, great. All right, then, yeah, Pantaja, let's meet on weekend as well, and yeah, we'll go into that. Yeah.
Sure.
Eh?
Thank you.
All right, thanks. Yeah, bye-bye.
Thank you.